Commander Vexler of the Krillian Armada stood before the Grand War Council. His forearms crossed in confidence as holographic displays showed the target Earth and its scattered colonies. The Krillians were masters of conquest, having absorbed 40 star systems into their empire over 2 centuries. Their military doctrine was simple and effective. Strike hard, break their spirit, accept their surrender, and move to the next target. Intelligence reports painted humanity as perfect prey only 80 years in space, scattered across barely 30 systems, with outdated weapons and thin defensive networks. The council chamber buzzed with excitement as generals calculated the spoils. Mineral-rich asteroids, agricultural worlds, and a fresh population of workers for the Empire's expansion. Vexler had personally led 15 successful campaigns, and this would be his easiest yet. As the final vote approached, the chamber's communication system crackled with an emergency override. The massive screens flickered and died, replaced by a single image, an ancient being wrapped in flowing energy, its form barely holding shape in 3-dimensional space. "I am Keeper Nelsith of the Witness Collective," the voice echoed, old beyond measure. "I bring a warning that may save your species from extinction." The council members shifted uncomfortably. The Witness Collective was legendary, a group of ancient observers who had watched the galaxy evolve for millions of years. Never interfering, only recording. For them to break their silence meant something unprecedented. "Do not attack the humans," Nelsith continued, his voice heavy with urgency. "I have studied 3,000 species across 2 million years of galactic history. I have watched empires rise and fall, seen wars that consumed entire sectors, observed the birth and death of civilizations. But I have never seen anything like humanity." Vexler stepped forward, irritation replacing his initial surprise. "Explain yourself, Keeper. Our intelligence shows the humans are weak, divided, and technologically inferior. They can barely defend their own shipping lanes." The ancient being's form pulsed with what might have been sadness. "You see their ships and count their weapons, but you do not understand what you face. Humans are unique in a way that makes them the most dangerous species I have ever observed. Other races fight for territory, resources, or honor. Humans fight for something far more powerful: each other. When you threaten one human, you threaten all humans. When you kill one, you make enemies of billions. They do not calculate cost versus benefit when their families are harmed. They do not weigh the strategic value of revenge. They simply hunt, with a patience and determination that will terrify you." General Cross, the council's eldest member, laughed a harsh, chittering sound. "The Keeper speaks in riddles. All species claim to value their own. This makes humans no different." Nelsith's image grew more intense, the energy around him crackling. "Listen carefully, for I will not repeat this warning. In my archives, there is a record of a species called the Zathan. 6,000 years ago, they were the dominant military power in this region of space. They encountered early humans on a small colony world called New Terra. The Zathan, like you, saw weakness and opportunity. They attacked without warning, killed 8,000 humans, and enslaved the rest. The Zathan Empire controlled 200 worlds, commanded fleets that darkened the skies, and had never known defeat." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "Within 50 years, the Zothan were extinct. Not defeated. Not conquered. Extinct. Every world they controlled was liberated or destroyed. Every ship they built was hunted down. Every Zothan who participated in the New Terra attack was found, no matter where they hid, no matter how far they ran. The humans didn't stop until every single one was held accountable. They tracked Zothan refugees across the galaxy for decades. They learned the Zothan language, studied their culture, infiltrated their hiding places. The Zothan tried to surrender 17 times. The humans refused every offer until their terms were met. Total accountability for every death." The council chamber fell silent. Vexler felt a cold sensation in his primary heart, but pride kept him standing tall. "That was 6,000 years ago, Keeper. Surely humanity has evolved, become more civilized." "You mistake their civilization for weakness," Nelsith replied. "Humans are indeed civilized. They are kind to strangers, generous with knowledge, patient in diplomacy. They are artists, philosophers, dreamers, who write poetry about stars and build monuments to peace. But this civilization is a choice they make every day, not a limitation of their nature. When you harm their families, they stop choosing civilization. They become something else, something that will haunt your species for generations. Dexter's confidence wavered, but didn't break. The Zothan were perhaps careless. We are the Krillian Armada, trained in advanced warfare, equipped with weapons the humans cannot match. Even if your story is true, we are not the Zathan. The ancient being's form began to fade, his message delivered. No, you are not. You are simply the next species that will learn this lesson. I have given you the warning. What you do with it determines whether your species survives the next century. Remember this moment, Commander Vexter. Remember it when you watch your fleet scatter in terror. Remember it when you realize there is nowhere in the galaxy you can hide. Remember it in your final moments, when you understand that humans never, ever let go. The transmission ended, leaving the council in uncomfortable silence. For nearly a minute, no one spoke. Then General Cross stood, his voice firm. The Keeper is old and fearful. His kind has forgotten the taste of victory because they hide and watch instead of act. We are warriors. The humans are our next conquest. One by one, the council members voiced their agreement. Vexter looked at the star charts showing Earth's position, that small blue world so far from Krillian space. Something in his gut told him the Keeper spoke truth, but his pride was stronger than his instinct. Prepare the fleet, he ordered. We strike the Mars colony Epsilon 7 in 3 standard days. It's an agricultural settlement with minimal defenses, a perfect demonstration of our power. After we capture it, we'll offer Earth terms of surrender. They'll accept, and this will be over quickly. As the council dispersed to their preparations, Vexter stood alone before the tactical display. He pulled up the files on the Zothan that his intelligence division had compiled after the Keeper's warning. The files were fragmentary, most records lost to time, but what remained was chilling. The Zothan had been powerful, wealthy, and advanced. They had vanished so completely that most modern species didn't even know they had existed. Only the Witness Collective remembered them, and now Vexter understood why. He shook off the doubt and returned to his flagship. The die was cast. The Krillian Armada, 150 warships strong, began their journey toward human space, completely unaware that they were about to trigger the most relentless hunt in modern galactic history. Mars colony Epsilon 7 was a peaceful place, home to 40,000 farmers, engineers, and families who had transformed the red planet's Elysium Valley into a thriving agricultural center. Children played in the transparent domes that protected their schools and homes, while adults worked in the vast hydroponic farms that fed a dozen human settlements across the system. Colony Administrator David Park was reviewing harvest reports when the alarms began screaming, sound that hadn't been heard in the colony's 20-year history. "Sir, we have multiple bogey contacts entering the system," reported Lieutenant Sarah Chen from the small security office. "At least 100 ships, military configuration, origin unknown." David's blood turned cold. Mars had 6 aging patrol craft and a handful of orbital defense platforms, nothing that could stand against a fleet this size. "Sound the evacuation alarm. Get everyone to the emergency shelters. Send a priority distress signal to Earth Command. Include everything our sensors are picking up." The Krillian fleet emerged from their final jump like a swarm of metal predators, their ships sleek and dark against the starfield. Vexter watched the colony through his main screen, seeing the tiny figures running toward shelter, the pathetic defense platforms powering up their old laser batteries. This would be over in an hour. "Begin the assault," he ordered. "Target military installations first, then infrastructure. I want survivors to witness our power." The attack was brutal and efficient. Krillian fighters screamed through the Martian atmosphere, their weapons turning the orbital platforms into expanding clouds of debris. The 6 patrol craft launched, desperately, their pilots knowing they had no chance but refusing to run. Captain Mike Torres piloted the patrol ship Destiny, his voice calm on the open channel as he addressed his crew. "Remember what we're protecting, people. Our families are down there. Make every shot count. The patrol craft used every trick. They knew, hiding in the orbital debris, striking from unexpected angles, even ramming damaged enemy fighters when their ammunition ran out. Vexler watched with growing confusion as one human pilot, his ship critically damaged and on fire, deliberately crashed into a Krillian cruiser's engine section, causing both vessels to explode. Why did he do that? Vexter asked his tactical officer. His ship was finished. He could have ejected. Unknown, Commander. Perhaps their escape systems failed. But deep inside, Vexer knew the truth. The pilot had chosen to take enemies with him rather than save himself. It was the first hint that the Keeper's warning might have been accurate. The ground assault began an hour later. Krillian soldiers, trained and equipped for planetary conquest, swept through the colony's defensive perimeter. But instead of the quick surrender Vexter expected, they encountered resistance that defied logic. Farmers fought with mining equipment and improvised explosives. Teachers barricaded schools and fought to their last breath to protect students. Elderly colonists, too old to run, operated communication equipment and guided younger defenders to enemy positions. Sarah Chen, the security lieutenant, had transformed the colony's community center into a fortress. With 24 defenders, most of whom had never fired a weapon in anger before, she held off Krillian forces for 6 hours. Her final transmission, sent to every human settlement in range, became the rallying cry that would doom the Krillian species. This is Mars Colony, Epsilon. We are farmers, teachers, and families. We never wanted war. But you came to our home, you hurt our children, you will pay for every drop of blood spilled here. If we cannot make you pay, our brothers and sisters will. Humanity will never stop hunting you. Never. This I promise with my dying breath. The transmission ended with the sound of explosions. Vexler stood in his command center, watching damage reports scroll across his screens. The colony had fallen, but the cost was staggering.
Ow.
Krillian ships damaged for destroyed completely, over 2,000 soldiers dead or wounded. Against farmers, against colonists who shouldn't have been able to fight at all. Send the surrender terms to Earth, he ordered, his voice uncertain now. Tell them we will spare their other colonies if they submit immediately. But Earth's response came not in words but in actions. Within hours, every human military vessel in known space changed course, converging toward Krillian territory. Civilian ships were converted into troop carriers and supply vessels. Every human colony began mobilizing its population training. Civilians in combat, building weapons with whatever resources they had. Admiral James Chunsera's uncle addressed the entire human species in a broadcast that was watched by billions. They came to our home. They murdered our families. They killed children in their schools, farmers in their fields, teachers protecting their students. Mars Colony Epsilon 7 is gone, but the 40,000 souls who live there will not be forgotten. Every name, every face, every life lost will be remembered. And those responsible will face justice. Behind him, a massive display showed photographs every single colonist who had died at Epsilon 7. Children smiling in school pictures, families gathered for celebrations. Elderly couples who had pioneered the colony decades ago. Images scrolled for hours, each one accompanied by a name and brief description. This is not war, Admiral Chen continued, his voice cold as vacuum. This is a hunt, Commander Vexter, of the Krillian Armada. You were warned. You chose to ignore that warning. Now you will learn what happens when you make humanity your enemy. We will find you. We will find every ship that participated in this attack. We will find every commander who gave orders, every soldier who fired weapons, every leader who approved this invasion. You will face trial for your crimes. If you run, we will chase you. If you hide, we will search until we find you. Seek shelter with other species. We will remind them what happens to those who harbor murderers. There is nowhere in this galaxy you can go where we will not follow. Surrender now and face justice, or run and be hunted. Either way, you will answer for what you did. Vexter watched the human admiral's speech with growing dread. This wasn't the response of a defeated enemy. This was something else entirely, a promise wrapped in steel and fired by grief. "Commander, we should return to Krillian space immediately," urged his second-in-command. "We can regroup behind our defensive networks. Calculate jump coordinates." "For home," Vexler ordered, but even as he spoke, he knew the truth. The Keeper had been right. The humans wouldn't let them flee. They would never stop hunting, never forget, never forgive. The first human hunter group struck 3 days later, hitting Krillian supply convoys at the edge of their territory. The attacks were surgical and precise. The humans had studied the battle data from Mars and knew exactly how Krillian ships operated. More disturbing was the fact that the humans didn't destroy the supply ships completely. They disabled them, boarded them, and took prisoners. But only specific prisoners. "They're asking for crew manifests," reported one captured Krillian captain over subspace communication. "They're looking for anyone who was at Mars. Anyone who wasn't there, they let go. But those who fought at Mars, they're taking them for trial." Vexter realized with horror what was happening. The humans weren't waging war against the Krillian species. They were hunting specific individuals, everyone who had participated in the Mars attack. It had turned the entire human civilization into a massive tracking and capture operation, focused on justice for 40,000 dead colonists. Over the following weeks, the hunt intensified. Human ships appeared in dozens of star systems, always tracking, always following. The Krillian fleet tried to scatter, hoping to lose their pursuers in the vastness of space. But the humans had done something unprecedented. They had shared all their sensor data, tactical information, and tracking algorithms with every human ship in space. Civilian cargo haulers became scout vessels. Passenger liners were refitted as mobile command centers. Even small private ships joined the hunt, serving as communication relays and observation posts. The entire human species had become a distributed intelligence network focused on one goal: finding the Krillians who had attacked Mars. Other alien species watched in awe and terror. The Witness Collective updated their records, adding new warnings about humanity. The Altarian Republic, which had been considering an aggressive expansion into human space, quietly abandoned those plans. The Centauran Trade Federation, which had ignored several human diplomatic requests, suddenly became very accommodating. Within 6 months, Vexler's fleet of 150 ships had been reduced to 43. Some had been captured, their crews taken for trial. Others had been destroyed when they refused to surrender. A few had been abandoned by crews who chose to face human justice rather than continue running. The galaxy's communication networks carried daily updates on the hunt, and with each update came the same reminder: photographs and names of those who died at Mars, ensuring that no one forgot why this was happening. Vexler sat alone in his darkened quarters, reviewing the Keeper's warning for the 100th time. "They will never stop hunting you," the ancient being had said. It was true. Every prediction had come to pass. The humans didn't care about the cost of the pursuit. They didn't.